So all of in my particular lab, I'm using the CSR 1KV. So it's a virtual machine running iOS XR. So those are my Golf devices and my BGP WAN MPLS-PE. We don't support CSR 1KV in production yet. I don't know if we ever will. But they're really good for labs, so they work well, so you can actually see this configuration, test some things out. But the officially supported devices as of this recording are the ASR 1K, the ASR 9K, and the Nexus 7K. But again, for lab purposes, testing things out, CSR 1K is good for the lab. All of the running configs of all of my CSR 1KVs are at my GitHub repo, and I put them there so that you would have a full running config of what the router looks like, and then you can extrapolate into your environment from that particular example. So what I did was I took a show run output from one of my Golf routers, and this happens to be from Golf West, and I just pulled out the relevant Day-0 one-time configuration that you have to do in the beginning. So that stage one kind of stuff. We're using VXLAN, so we call out the port. We'll create an NVE interface, and also, with the related configuration that we need there. We're going to set up a Bgp router adjacency between the Golf devices and the spines. We said that. So standard BGP, you can see I've got a configuration here to spine 1 and another configuration to spine 2. Your IPs will vary, but that's what my lab has set up. This particular address family, VPN v4, is really just pointing towards my MPLS-PE router. It's optional, but again, it's set up in my lab, and that's what that's there for. You don't have to configure that if you don't want. But the other important thing under BGP is the EVPN setup. So you can see, again, I'm creating a neighbor adjacency to each of my spines from each Golf router, and there you go. And then finally, because we do want the automation, we're going to configure the OpFlex agent in the CSR 1KV, and this is the relevant configuration that we want to have in the CSR 1KV. If I were to look in my Golf East router, the configuration would be almost identical, with maybe some IP address changes on the loopback or the router ID, but effectively I'm just doing the same thing in both Golf routers, nothing particularly fancy. So the first thing I want to do is establish an Ospf adjacency between my Golf router and my IPN device. My IPN device already has an Ospf connection to the spine for multipod, so I'm going to borrow or use that routing table in order to establish my BGP connection. So if I do a show IP Ospf neighbor, you can actually see my neighbor adjacency to the IPN device west is up. I do have another Ospf adjacency to my MPLS-PE router that is, of course, optional. So the first thing we're going to do after this is establish a BGP neighbor adjacency to the spines. If I show a IP BGP summary, you can see I've got the configuration there, but of course the adjacency is not up yet because we haven't configured the spines. So we'll do that in the second video. So I'll stop this one here, and then the next video we'll pick up with the ACI related configuration.